What's up, guys? Chase Christensen, LSX Magazine. We've been cruising around SEMA looking for the best and the brightest here. We stopped by Mercury Racing and we've got something that we think you guys should really take a look at. It's their new dual overhead cam motor. It's based on an LS7. You might recognize Mercury from the fabled LT5. This is a dual overhead cam LS7, which is basically almost a spiritual successor to that LT5. It gives you dual overhead cams capable of producing 750 horsepower, 570 pound-feet of torque, will rev to 8,000 RPM, and it's just a badass motor. If you're like me, you probably have a lot of questions about this motor. For example, how much wider is it than an LS7? How much taller? And we talked to the guys here at Mercury Racing, and the height is actually shorter, so this actually gives you more hood clearance. It is slightly wider, but it's only by about 1.5 inches, which isn't that much wider. So honestly, this thing will fit in a lot of applications. The heads flow substantially better, they tell us, though they don't want to give us the actual flow numbers, which is fine, but it does move a lot more air. Like I mentioned before, it'll rev to 8,000 RPM, so this thing just keeps on pulling. They mentioned before that the power peaks off at 750 at 7,500 RPMs, but just keeps on pulling straight across the 8,000, making the same amount of power that entire time. Doesn't fall off, so it's a pretty phenomenal motor. It's got finger follower designs on the cam. They want you to use a 2-inch primary on it. It's bringing a lot more air in due to the increased head flow, so they want you to use a 2-inch primary header to evacuate all those exhaust gases and get it in top shape. So the intake manifold on this is actually Mercury's design, and it's fed by twin 80mm throttle bodies, and the actuator motors are their design as well. You can see here, it's all cut away so you can see the top end of it. You've got both camshafts here. And this cog here at the front of the motor is driving the exhaust cam, but then inside you've got 2 gears that they tell us use a scissor type technology to constantly keep them lashed, so they're actually really quiet, keep this motor super quiet. Up front, the cog here is actually basically a harmonic balancer on each side. It'll soak up those harsh vibrations, and they say it gives this belt a lot longer life and everything. But under this, you've got the stock LS7, well, not the stock, but a dual roller timing chain that actually outputs to this cog. This cog hooks into the belt system, and that's what drives both sides of the motor. So that's the cutaway here. And next we'll move over to the head. Here they've got the head just on display. Obviously you can see the cam, both cams, the gears, how they're lashed. If we come around here to the back, you can see 4 valves per cylinder. Pretty crazy to see almost in an LS configuration. You can see that the bolt pattern is obviously LS7 there, but it's pretty crazy to see 4 valves in that kind of configuration. We don't know if we're going to start seeing 4-valve Chevy motors here coming up. We might, but for now, this is it. And if you've had any experience with the LT5, it looks very similar. You know that it's Mercury right away. They make some amazing stuff. So right over here, we've got the full motor. So this is fully dressed. This is exactly what it would look like if you ordered one. Valve covers. This one's been painted green. They call this particular motor the SB4 7.0. Obviously, like we said, 427 cubic inches because it's based on the LS, but they've done some internal motor work to that as well. Oiling has been improved. The internals have been changed a decent amount. So it is basically its own motor. Sure, it starts life as an LS7, but for all intents and purposes, almost everything on this motor has been completely changed. These motors are also available through the Roadster shop. They're going to start putting them in chassis, so you can actually order those through them, and they can give you all of that in the chassis that you want, make it fit perfect, and then you've got a screamer behind it. So Mercury Racing makes the ECM for this, so it's all their proprietary technology. Their ECM controls it. As far as transmission control goes, you would have to use a standalone on that, but that's not a big deal. But I just can't wait to see one of these in an actual car, and I'm thinking maybe they might send me one if I blow up Cornstar's motor. You never know, right? So that's all for Mercury Racing. We'll be here for the rest of the week at SEMA, so keep it tuned right here.